This program was first broadcast on Canterbury's access media station, Plains FM, and was made with the assistance of New Zealand On Air.
It's time for Emergence News on Plains FM 96.9, Citizen-Made Radio.
Welcome to Emergence News. My name is Nigel, and joining me in the studio today, John. Welcome, sir. Well, it's been a wee while.
Yes, it has. I'm really pleased to be back. Thank you very much for letting me know where you were today. Otherwise, I could have been wandering around the city calling your name.
And getting no response.
Oh, thank you.
And Peter, nice to see you, and welcome to the program.
Great. Thanks, Nigel. Good to be here.
This program is brought to you by the three of us, three Share International volunteers. We're based in Christchurch, New Zealand, Aotearoa. The program brings together two main directions of New Age thinking, the political and the spiritual. And to explain what this means, I'm going to assume, just for a moment, indulge me, I'm going to assume that you are listening to us, Emergence News, for the first time. Here we go. Have you ever wondered why there is so much tension and conflict surrounding us? Why the tension seems to be growing, like a slow tidal wave creeping inland from the coastline. And you cannot fight it. You cannot escape the momentum it is gathering. Have you ever thought that maybe there is something behind all this chaos? Perhaps there is a bigger plan, that somehow humanity must experience all this crazy behaviour. For example, the insane business practice of not looking after each other, farming our land and waterways until the pollution is so bad it gets ignored by the majority, and certainly our governments. Have you ever wondered why more right-wing political forces seem to be getting elected and continue this policy of destruction? As I indicated earlier, this program brings together the political and the spiritual. So let's talk about the real story behind this program. It is the emergence of a spiritual leader, a teacher whose name is Maitreya. And if you want to find out more about him, here's a suggestion. Visit YouTube or the Share International New Zealand website and search for a podcast called Who is Maitreya? Currently, that is our most visited program, and it is a good starting point regarding Emergence News. What I can tell you is that the Maitreya story does help you gain some hope for our future. He will remind us, Maitreya will remind us of our own high origin and destiny. He will emerge as a great new force supporting our ability to meet the challenges of this time. Maitreya and the Masters will encourage us to take courage from the knowledge that we, humanity, are not alone. That our elder brothers are alert and ready to empower all who are working towards supporting everyone in our communities. Welcome back to Emergence News. There's a smile on his dial. It's good to see John. What are you looking at today, sir?
I'm watching you fiddling around with this recording gear, wondering if we were going to leave the studio.
Well, look, over the years we've had Nikki, Laura, Charlie. I'm really starting to admire the work that they do behind the scenes. You've always said you're the only guy you know who's got a producer, and I think we need one desperately again. What are you looking at today?
Okay, so esoteric terms, glossary of esoteric terms. I started on this sometime last year, and my point that I was making was if you're going to take up the study or a view of a new body of knowledge or information, there is nearly always some key ideas, key phrases, or even a new language that you have to use. and learn, whether it's carpentry, whether it's being a car mechanic, whether it's being a surgeon, whether it's working in a radio studio. There's things you have to learn, but attached to those tasks, there are key ideas captured by language. And one of the things that I got onto quite early when I started getting interested in the Benjamin Creme story was the glossary of esoteric terms. Now, I think, Peter, it actually comes from Alice A. Bailey, the glossary of esoteric terms. I assumed it was Creme.
I think so.
But I think I have seen it reported as coming from Alice A. Bailey. But anyway, it is several pages, 8 pages actually, which I printed off the Share International website, of a whole list of very, very cool ideas and language and concepts that once you start entering this world of esoteric knowledge, the world of Maitreya, the world of Benjamin Creme, the world of how God moves among humanity, then learning some of these key ideas is a great idea.
Before you go any further, John, the word esoteric, just remind us what that means.
Okay, well, I tell you what I could do, Nigel, is I could lunge into the glossary of esoteric terms under E, and it's got esotericism, the philosophy of the evolutionary process, both in man and the lower kingdoms in nature, the science of the accumulated wisdom of the ages. It presents a systematic and comprehensive account of the energetic structure of the universe and of man's place within it, and describes the forces and influences that lie behind the phenomenal world. Also, the process of becoming aware of and gradually mastering these forces. Now, I need to go back and pick up that first sentence. The philosophy of the evolutionary process both in man and the lower kingdoms. The term man is the name for humanity. It's not a gender-specific term, but within the esoteric world, man is the race.
Comes from the word mind, doesn't it?
Which is
from
manus.
manus.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Humanity.
Humanity, yes. Which, very good, Nigel. You had a coffee this morning?
It was a strong cup of tea.
So, yeah, there we have it, esotericism.
Yeah.
Now, I picked up a couple of... Look, what I want to do to our listeners is drop in irritating little ideas that'll hopefully drive them to seek some more answers, right? So I've chosen 1 or 2 definitions out of here. I've gone with the Ajna Center, right? That's the energy center, the chakra between the eyebrows. It's the directing center of the personality. Its correspondence on the physical level is the pituitary gland, and it is the one we work with through transmission meditation.
I was just going to say,
right?
You're leading towards meditation here.
Right. So it's the one we use during transmission meditation. We don't put our attention on any chakra lower than the Ajna center, which is at the forehead, right? But where the bridge of the nose and the eyebrows meet, roughly. Very, very powerful center. And it is the directing center. And I've got a little life hack here for our listeners. If you're feeling nervous, worried, fearful, that is because your attention has dropped to your solar plexus. By raising your attention to the Ajna center and holding it there, you'll move away from those overwhelming emotions. Great little trick if you're feeling a bit stressed. Okay, another one I want to drop in is diva. Now, one of the things I love about this is Benjamin Creme has said there's 2 evolutions on this planet, human and angel or devic, right? What's a diva? A diva is an angel or celestial being belonging to a kingdom in nature, evolving parallel to humanity and ranging from subhuman elementals to superhuman beings on a level with a planetary logos. They are the active builders working intelligently with substance to create all the forms we see, including the mental, emotional and physical bodies of humanity.
Interesting you said that some of them are working up to the level of the solar logos.
Yes.
So some of them are very powerful creatures.
Yes, in fact, some of them go beyond that. They're cosmic avatars.
Not to be underestimated.
No.
The other very cool idea around this is that they start, part of their evolutionary process involves a physical form, which is birds.
Yeah.
Right? So the bird life on this planet is part of a transition for the devic evolution.
That's right.
So birds grow up to be angels. That makes a lot of sense, doesn't it?
But, Benjamin Creme says that everything is on its way to be human or is human or beyond human.
Yep.
And so this includes the devic evolution.
So that is, I think, of all of the things, there's two things that I've read over the years that have struck me, that have shaken me, that Benjamin Creme said. That's the first thing, that all life has either going to or has passed through the human experience. That's all life. That is all life. That's the sun and the moon and the stars have all at some point experienced humanity, right? The other thing he said, and I hope this kicks them in the pants. The other thing Benjamin Creme said is towards the end of the evolutionary experience, your soul will bring you into contact with meditation. Right? That first time it might be a brief pamphlet in the mailbox. You might go to a free lecture and do nothing about it in that life. And the soul will again attempt and bring it.
Give you a nudge.
Yeah, and bring it into your life until the vehicle, which unfortunately is just us, picks up that habit, that practice, that discipline. I love that word discipline. It's the same root word as disciple, right? Until the discipline of meditation becomes into the life. Fantastic stuff. I love this. It's just so interesting.
This is the Emergence News on Plains FM. For more information, go to shareinternational.org.
You're listening to Emergence News, and in the studio we've got John and Peter. Thanks so much for that, John. You've touched on some esoteric terms. We'll come back to you, time permitting.
Yes, it's going to get rougher, Nigel. I got some stuff here that's going to really upset people.
All right, Peter, what are you looking at today?
Well, I'm looking at this article in November, Share International. It's written by Professor Pape, who is an Israeli, and he supports the Palestinians. In fact, the title of this article is My Israeli Friends. This is why I support the Palestinians. It is not always easy to stick to your moral compass, but if it does point north towards decolonization and liberation, then it will most likely guide you through the fog of poisonous propaganda. It is challenging to maintain one's moral compass when society you belong to, leaders and media alike, take the moral high ground and expect you to share with them the same righteous fury with which they reached to the events of Saturday the 7th of October. He goes on to say, there is only one way to resist the temptation to join in, if you understand at one point in your life, even as a Jewish citizen of Israel, the settler colony nature of Zionism, and were horrified by its policies against the indigenous people of Palestine. If you have had this realization, then you will not waver, even if the poisonous messages depict Palestinians as animals or human animals. These same people insist on describing what took place on the 7th of October as a Holocaust, thus abusing the memory of a great tragedy. These sentiments are both being conveyed day and night by both Israeli media and politicians. It is this moral compass that led me and others in our society to stand by the Palestinian people in every way possible, and that re-enables us at the same time to admire the courage of the Palestinian fighters who took over a dozen military bases, overcoming the strongest army in the Middle East. This does not mean that we should not keep an eye on the big picture, not even for a minute. The picture is that of a colonized people fighting for survival at a time when its oppressors have elected a government which is hell-bent on accelerating the destruction. In fact, the elimination of the Palestinian people, or even their very claim to peoplehood, Hamas had to act, and quickly so. It is hard to voice these counter-arguments because Western media and politicians went along with the Israeli discourse and the narrative, however problematic it was. I wonder how many of those who decided to don Parliament House in London and the Eiffel Tower in Paris with the colours of the Israeli flag truly understood how this seemingly symbolic gesture is received in Israel. Even liberal Zionists, with a modicum of decency, read this act as total absolution of all the crimes Israel have committed against the Palestinian people since 1948, and therefore as a carte blanche to continue with the genocide that Israel is now perpetuating against the people of Gaza. Fortunately, there were also different reactions to the events which unfold in the last few days. Many people know that since June 1967, 1 million Palestinians have been imprisoned at least once in their life, and with imprisonment comes abuse, torture, and permanent detention without trial. These very people also know about the horrific reality Israel has created in the Gaza Strip when it sealed the region, imposing hermetic siege conditions starting in 2007, accompanied by the relentless killing of children in the occupied West Bank. This violence is not a new phenomenon, as it has been a permanent face of Zionism since the establishment of Israel in 1948. Because of that very civil society, my dear Israeli friends, your government and media will ultimately be proven wrong, as they will not be able to claim the role of victims, receive unconditional support, and get away with these crimes. Eventually, the big picture will emerge, despite the inherent biased Western media. The big question, however, is this: will you, my Israeli friends, be able to clearly see this same big picture as well, despite years of indoctrination and social engineering? And no less important, will you be able to learn the other important lesson, one that can be gleaned from recent events? The sheer force alone cannot find the balance between a just regime on the one hand and an immoral political project on the other. But there is an alternative. In fact, there has always been one. A de-Zionized, liberated and democratic Palestine from the river to the sea. A Palestine that will welcome back the refugees and build a society that does not discriminate on the basis of culture, religion or ethnicity. This new state would labour to rectify as much as possible the past evils. In terms of economic inequality, the stealing of property and the denial of rights, this could herald a new dawn for the whole Middle East.
You're listening to Emergence News. Welcome back. And Peter, it's a whole situation in the Middle East that continues to unfold and heighten in intensity.
Yes, it just seems to be getting worse, doesn't it? I mean, the people have got nowhere to go.
From what I'm seeing, and I guess I'm relying a lot on mainstream media, but he's, and I'm saying Netanyahu, he's saying we're hunting Hamas, so everybody else go left. And then he bombs left and then says everybody else go left again, and then he bombs left again. It's almost as though he's offering escape routes and then bombing the escape route. Yeah. I did read some figures that I can't remember about the phenomenal amount of munitions that Israel has poured into Gaza in 100 days is more than what America poured into Vietnam over a sort of a 10-year period. So we're probably not getting an accurate picture of the actual destruction and the munitions that are getting poured into Gaza. And I think we need to be aware that for a long time now, America has supplied Israel with between sort of $4 to $4.8 billion of armaments every year on year. And that they've escalated that more for this year, for this campaign. So America is really complicit in this slaughter.
Of course they are, yeah.
And, I'm reminded again of karma, and And I've got karma in front of me here, Nigel, under K in the glossary of esoteric terms. Karma is the Eastern name for the law of cause and effect, the basic law governing our existence in this solar system. Every thought that we have, every action that we carry out sets in motion a cause. These causes have their effects, which make our lives for good or ill. Expressed in biblical terms, as you sow, so shall you reap. In scientific terms, for every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. So what I'd like to say to Mr. Netanyahu and the people of Israel, the karmic debt coming out of this is going to be phenomenal. And I suspect for everybody in Israel that's complicit in this action against the people of Palestine, as Peter's pointed out, since 1948.
It's been a long time.
The karmic debt must be phenomenal.
Yes, and it's probably only as low as 7% or something of the people are actually on side of the Palestinians.
Well, I read an interesting article. In fact, one of the American Late Show, John Oliver, listed the political allies that Netanyahu's gathered around him and who's in his war cabinet, and they are the most extreme and right-wing of Zionists. So there's this clutch of philosophical corruption, if you like, that's driving this slaughter. And I think you're right, Peter. I think there's probably a large number of people living in Israel who call themselves Israelis that do not agree with this process. There's certainly a number of Jewish people globally who are now voicing their complete disapproval with us. And in fact, social media, there's any number of Jewish academics standing up and saying, I'm Jewish, I'm not a Zionist, this is wrong.
John, at the beginning of the program, we talked about the real story behind Emergence News. It's the new teacher for the next 2,500 years. His name is Maitreya.
Yep.
Are we going to need his assistance? The Middle East, can humanity resolve this ourselves?
No, and Benjamin Creme has said this a number of times. And in fact, if our listeners go to the Share International website, there is a special section there on commentary from Maitreya and Benjamin Creme about the Middle East. Benjamin Creme has said it will take someone of the stature of Maitreya to resolve this issue. I'm beginning to wonder now that if this activity in the Middle East between Israel and Gaza, Israel and the Palestinians, may actually hasten Maitreya's emergence.
So when we talk about his emergence, we've said many times on the program in the past, Peter, that Maitreya is with us. He's here on the planet.
That's right.
But in regard to his emergence, we're talking about open declaration, aren't we?
Yes, this is right. I mean, he can't infringe our free will.
So it's going to need Maitreya and the Masters to help us collectively resolve the lack of harmony and good relationships, right relationships when it comes to commerce and trade.
We've talked about Maitreya's emergence. I'm wondering if it's becoming an intervention, Maitreya's intervention into human affairs, because we are way off the program.
We'll talk more on that subject next time on Emergence News.
All this information can be found on the Share International website, www.share-international.org, and also don't forget the podcasts, which are available on the Plains FM website.
We welcome your comments, questions and feedback. Please contact us at emergencenews@gmail.com.